So I wanted to answer a few different questions that you guys had when I asked you guys for questions a few days back, or maybe a week or so back. And we'll start off here with the first question from this user. It says, do you think the Packers will make any more moves in free agency, or do you think they will wait until the draft? So I think at this point, with the draft being around a little over 2 weeks away, I don't see the Packers making any kind of splash move. I think that they're probably at this point going to see what they get in the draft, what holes they fill, what holes they maybe still have after the draft takes place, and then at that point, sort of navigate and see where they could potentially add a player, what players are available at that point, and what is their need. Did they get, the enough depth that they wanted for the offensive line? Were they not able to secure that? It just comes down to what happens in the draft, and I don't see why the Packers would make any kind of big-time move or even, that much of a lower-tier move until the draft takes place now at this point of the season. Of course, free agency happened, the start of it around a month ago. The Packers made a lot of big splash moves, lots of players released, but for the most part, it's been pretty quiet around the NFL, and I would expect that to be the case for the Packers when it comes to any kind of meaningful free agency signings until after the draft. Then here we have from Miscellaneous ETC 4280. Don't you think there's a real reason to worry about Anders Carlson costing the team points that will ruin the season? I do think there is a little bit of a worry with Anders Carlson, the way he played last season, one of the most inconsistent kickers in the NFL. He was a rookie, so I do think the Packers have that hope that he can take that next step forward and maybe get past some of those mistakes. But we did see the Packers decide to sign a veteran in Greg Joseph, which I think shows you that the Packers want some more competition. They're going to see if maybe they have, a better option there, which I think is wise. I don't think you should go into 2024 just with Anders Carlson because of his struggles. Because let's say they start off with him, he continues to struggle. I think you have to make some kind of switch because, obviously in big time situations, kickers are very important. You need a guy that you can trust. So I think it's wise for the Packers to add some depth there at kicker just in case. Then here we have from Gabriel Aguirre 5090. What does success look like this year? Me, win the division and stomp the 49ers at home. That's all I want for Christmas. That would be very nice. I think that the fact that last season the Packers went as far as they did, making the playoffs, winning a playoff game, almost making it to the NFC Championship, I think that the expectations, no doubt, compared to last season are so much higher. And I think from the Packers fan base, all of us fans, we already saw them win a playoff game. We already saw them almost get to the NFC Championship. So I feel like, if the Packers don't make it to an NFC Championship, it may feel like somewhat of a failure just because they were so close last year. And I feel like if you can, take that next step forward, it would be winning the divisional game, making it to the NFC Championship, and then you'd be that much, closer to, winning a Super Bowl, which is obviously the ultimate goal for every single team in the NFL. And it is pretty crazy that, right after moving on from Aaron Rodgers, already these expectations for the Packers, because of how successful they were last season, are already nearing that point to where you're almost like, if we don't win a Super Bowl, was it a great season? Obviously, there's different levels of success throughout the season, winning the division, winning a playoff game, but at the end of the day, it comes down to winning those Super Bowls, and I think the Packers have the talent, have the team that has the ability to do that. I honestly think last year they had that ability. They just sort of let it slip away in that 49ers game, and who knows what would have happened in the NFC Championship if the Packers had been there. So I expect a much better season from Green Bay in the regular season, and hopefully they can match that playoff success and take that next step forward, and I think that is going to be success, getting past where they were last season. Then here from EdZR921, why haven't we won a Super Bowl in over a decade? It's a great question. Packers have fallen short lots of times in the NFC Championship, just different reasons every time. And I think that shows you just how hard it is to win in the NFL because you can get so close, be a few plays away, and just, miss out on it. I do think there's, some close calls where it's like if something bounced your way a little differently, you're in the Super Bowl, you maybe have a chance there. So the Packers, I think they've had the talent. They've had the elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Now they have Jordan Love. We've had some really good offenses over the years. At times, the defense has held us back, lots of times in the playoffs. And so it just sort of comes down to sort of having it all come together in the playoffs and winning those games, and it just hasn't happened, unfortunately, for the Packers, even though they've had a team that I think honestly had the caliber of players and caliber of team to win a Super Bowl, which unfortunately they haven't done in a while. Then here, God of Thunder 9379, what do you think about the whole Packers contract with the city of Green Bay? So I was reading a little bit about that about a month ago, And it sounded at first like, oh gosh, is there a problem here? But apparently the lease, from what I read, is already signed through 2033. And the Packers have been wanting to make a longer term agreement than 2033. So we're still maybe 9 or so years away from anything actually changing. So I doubt there's going to be any issues here. I don't see how the Packers and Green Bay couldn't come to some kind of agreement in the next 9 years. I think that everything's going to be fine there. Now, if the agreement was only through next year, then you'd maybe be slightly worried or concerned as to what's going to happen. But the lease is signed through 2033, so I doubt that things fall through. I bet they'll get, both sides will come to the table and figure something out. That's my opinion. Then we have here Judah Kratz 5846. How big of an impact do you think Davian Wicks will have this season? I think he's going to have an even bigger impact than last season. He really started to shine throughout the year. Looked like one of the most talented Packers receivers. All of them have a ton of talent, which is nice, as we've talked about, to have so many different players who can get it done at a top-tier level. And I think that, like Wicks, Reed, these guys who are entering year 2, I think we saw some steps forward from, Romeo Doubs in this past season. I think we'll see some big steps forward for Wicks, especially. I just don't see how the Packers don't end up giving him more reps, more snaps, more percentage of the offensive snaps because of just how insanely wide open he is a majority of the time. And I think we saw his chemistry build with Jordan Love, and I see no reason why his success won't go to another level this next season. So I'm excited to see what Wicks can do, no doubt. But those are all the questions I wanted to answer for today. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.